Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with three S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my amazing co-host. We have
the lovely Phil. How we doing?
you know what? I realize that I'm doing great, and one of the reasons is because The Amazing Race is back.
Yes.
I'm a Big Brother super fan, as you probably know. I can't remember what your level of love for Big Brother is, but this season that I was so excited about for Big Brother, I didn't enjoy it. It's over in about a week, and for someone that's a super fan, I haven't even watched this week's episodes yet. But so you get my point. So when I have The Amazing Race come back, and I've had the same history with The Amazing Race, is like the length of time pretty much as Big Brother and Survivor, it just feels like home, and they can't mess it up that much. So I love it. I'm loving The Amazing Race. How do you feel overall about this episode?
I am loving 2 episodes in. I'm really happy that we had a bit of a break, and now it's back, and this has been a wonderful show so far. I'm liking most of the teams, which is really odd for me because usually it's just one or two, and so used to with Big Brother, I was hating everybody at one point. I mean, now it's like, wow, I'm rooting for people to do well. My heart is growing.
You know, right? It's so you're not the Grinch anymore. Your heart is getting bigger and bigger. We have a friend in the chat with us, EJ. We love EJ. EJ, do you watch The Amazing Race? I know that you hang out with us for Love Island and maybe a little bit for The Bachelorette. Do you also love The Amazing Race? We'd love to hear your thoughts about tonight's episode. So one thing though that just to piggyback on what you were saying is that when at some points I'm like, oh my God, I don't want anybody to go. Oh my God, shoot. Okay, wait, who do I want to go the most out of these? You know what I mean? It was really captured.
And it was a nail biter for the back three teams. You didn't really know who was gonna go this week. So that was pretty cool. And it's I don't know if I want the two blonde girls who neither of us picked in our pool. I'm like, I don't want them to go, but I'm sure Chantele's like, go, get rid of the girls.
We'll get to what I was feeling around that area at that time. I definitely had some feelings. You just said that you're starting to watch, so you've never watched The Amazing Race before. Wow, it's light and it's great and it's fun to see different cultures and different activities. You can kind of visualize whether or not you could do it or you couldn't do it. You fall in love with some teams. There's a lot of animosity. It just has everything that you need without the producers really being able to get heavy-handed and manipulate any story. It's just it's more organic, I find.
Yeah. Whoever gets eliminated usually deserves to be eliminated because of their own doing. Very rarely, sometimes, but very rarely is it because of another team that they get eliminated. So it's kind of nice, just sort of, it really tests people on all different types of skills. That it's nice to see people succeed on things that they don't think that they are able to do, and it's sometimes interesting to watch people fail.
I love that. And so just in reality TV in general, I don't know if it's just because I'm from the last generation or the first generation of reality TV. We'll say that. We're from the first generation, and we're in the second or third generation of reality TV right now. And it seems what they enjoy, but it could just be because it's all that they know, is this overproduced, producer influenced storylines and feigned drama. And I feel like it's ruining the integrity, in my opinion, of all these shows that I love. So whether it be The Challenge, I love The Challenge, but it's I'll watch it just because I'm obsessed with the whole show because I've watched it since day one. But would I be a fan if I started watching it now? I don't think so. And same with Big Brother. I'm I love Big Brother. It's my favorite show. I've had the feeds every year since it's been on the air. I watch the UK. I watch Australia. Do I love the last 5 seasons? Not so much. Do I trail off the end every season? Pretty much, and just listen to updates. So I'm feeling as though the Amazing Race is always able to stay pretty okay because they don't ruin it by overproducing it. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much.
Yeah, I think the only flaw that the race has ever had is at one point it just felt like it was like always on, and so like it was going like back to back to back, and I think the fact that there's been a bit of a break has really re-energized me on like I love this show so much. So
yeah, it's just like relaxed. I mean, I do have a few qualms that we can talk about that I'm not sure if I like or I don't like, but
okay.
I don't mind them trying new things in this particular game. It doesn't, in my opinion, ruin things. Like, for instance, with Big Brother Canada, I don't know if I like the fact that the head of household can't play for the veto anymore. I don't know if I like that to be the new thing. I don't think it, but it's like this, the things that they maneuver in The Amazing Race, it doesn't seem like it affects it in a way that ruins the integrity of the game that much. That much.
Yeah.
A little bit though. But EJ says, I meant to say I'm starting to watch this season. Okay, good.
Perfect.
And EJ said they actually applied to do The Amazing Race. Long process. Is it anything that you could talk about? Because I would love to know more about the process of The Amazing Race steps down the road. Like, obviously, you know how to send in a tape, but I want to know if you could maybe share further down the road what the process is. Is it just like interview after interview? Do you have to get put up in a hotel for a week and do all the medicals? Like, how does The Amazing Race process work? But if it was long, that means you got pretty far. So that's awesome. Tell me more. So, oh wait, do you want to start with your survey?
Oh yeah, so let's go over last week's survey. Here are the results that the audience gave us, and we'll see, because a lot of it went with what you said. So the team that they were most surprised to see do well from the first episode was Michelle and Victoria, who I think did pretty well this episode too, from what I remember. Hardest task, they said, was the fish memory puzzle. Nathan and Cody, nobody was surprised, but they're out. Michelle and Victoria, the villains, and the most popular team ever, the one that got the most votes, Margie and Luke.
Oh, look at that. I'm right on the money. Yeah. Yay. Yeah. My mom, when she was telling me, I told you that she was watching she really enjoyed our last week's recap, but she said,
hi, Mom.
She was thinking too, and her first person that she thought was Margie and Luke as well was something that really resonated with her, remembering some of the challenge, and like she started like crying, thinking about like a couple of moments where he's like, I can't do it, and I'm so sad, but like he wants you so hard, and like his limitations, like it was just a beautiful moment. So Margie and Luke, we need to see them back, don't we? Or see to know. I want to know an update maybe of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Ron, I'm here. Sorry. Thank you, Ron, for the support. Don't worry, we just been chatting. You haven't missed much yet. So there weren't any surprises for you in the survey?
No, and we'll go through at the end. We'll go through this week's survey poll questions, but no, nothing too huge. There was one with the villains. The team that came in second that was kind of close to that was Will and James.
Oh,
people were like, oh, maybe they'll be the villain. So I don't know. I didn't see anything in the first episode, but the second episode, I could see why people might think that.
Wait. Well, you might as well tell me, what did you see in this episode?
Well, I think they'd be more seen as a team that they didn't seem to be getting along with each other very well. Like they were getting quite snippy with one another, especially at the truck challenge. And then I think they said something. One of them said something to the other, and it was like, ooh, that was kind of harsh. Like, so I think that they're going to be a team that people are going to be like, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it was just episode 2. I don't know.
Interesting. I mean, I didn't clock anything, but when we get to that part again, I'll remember some of my memory would be jogged by like how I was thinking about them. So we start off this episode kind of with the heroes. It seems like they are being painted as the hero team of this season. So that's Hung and Chi. They came in first in the non-elimination leg of last episode. What I loved hearing them talk about is what they're reinvesting in us, as in their relationship. They have 3 kids. They've been parents for so long. They've been, married for a while, but like they haven't had a chance to have their own relationship. And so this race around the world was an opportunity for them to start looking at their love and like working together, and like, you know, I think it was really sweet. Did you have any thoughts about that?
I think that's so relatable. I can't. So many couples that I know that have had so many, like they've had 2 or 3 kids, and then they get to like about 10 years, the kids are old enough. You can have grandma come over and take care of them, and they need that week away, that vacation, right? And just to reconnect with one another. It's really important, and I think people are they're relatable to a lot of people for that.
I heard on, I think it was Justin's podcast, maybe I could be wrong, is that they were able to get everything into, I believe, one backpack or 15-pound backpack. They're sharing like a toothbrush, like they're sharing a whole bunch of different things, so that they don't have to have as much weight as some of the other teams that are, and they really lightly packed. And so it seems like that's impactful on their game.
Yeah.
A little bit light. Good it's strategy. I love it. Adam, hi Adam, how are you? Adam says, I agree about Will and James not looking great this episode. I don't remember them looking mean.
Yeah, I know, especially at the part when they get to the truck and they were the one was like, oh, I think we should read the clue, and the other one snapped at the other one and was like, get to work, or we get back to doing the thing. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, or I'm definitely are gonna have some thoughts when we get there about that part. Oh my god, yeah, I know you're gonna have some more things to say about that too. So we see Kelly and Levon in the taxi, and one thing that I thought was good that they were talking about is like they never expected to be coming in second to last on this leg, but they're happy to at least appear to be weaker than maybe people were going to be giving them credit for, just for the fact that they're Olympic athletes. And so I'm glad that they recognize that their strength will be something that people are going to be looking at. And so they're kind of making lemons or turning lemons into lemonade with their standing. And I like their optimism. Are you laughing?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I don't think. I think they turned a nice situation, something that happened to them, into a nice situation. Because I don't think really they were doing anything on purpose in the first leg. I think they were just not doing well in the first leg. But yeah, I think they were good. I like that they were talking about it, and you know, I felt this leg they actually impressed me a lot more than they did in the first leg. Like, even though they were always in the back. So we'll talk about that a bit more. But yeah, I wasn't that. I was quite impressed with them. So
Ron says they're broken up for sure. I don't think so. They have their podcast. They have been releasing episodes. Like, he does describe him as the love of his life. He's running the race with the love of his life. And so I don't know if maybe have that dynamic as like one's a little bit more overbearing. So Will being overbearing over James, if that's just like their dynamic, and that they get snippy with each other, but they will always come back to loving. It's like nobody taking things personally. So I'm wondering if that's their relationship, because like I don't think either of us would allow someone to speak like that to us, unless it was like a dynamic
unless that's the relationship. Yeah. Yep. Hey, Ron and I have run charity races, and that's how we speak to each other sometimes on it. So, I mean, I understand where they're coming from. Like, sometimes you're like, no, just do it. Like, yell at each other.
Heard me speak to my brother or something on a race, I'd be like, what is wrong with you? Like, whatever. Like, you know, I wouldn't be as like, honey, just like take your time. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, stop shitty, like let's go, like, you know, like
I'm screwing it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't sugarcoat anything. So I think that it actually shows a little bit that they're very comfortable with each other, that they're able to kind of be irritated or be annoyed and not be worried about expressing themselves honestly in those moments. So and I hope they learn their lesson. You know what I mean when I'm saying that. Adam says, are they going to Nicole and Victor's wedding? Social media influencers.
Everyone is.
I mean, do you think that's money to pay for the hotel? Like the because it's an away wedding apparently. Did you hear about this? So I think it's in Bahamas.
Oh no, no.
And Yeah, Bahamas, and it's like $3,000 to go to Nicole and Victor's wedding, and Janelle's just dragging her, being like, "That is just so just so cheap and embarrassing that you invite people to your wedding to basically pay for your wedding." And she brags about Nicole that she has 9 bridesmaids. Well, if 9 bridesmaids and 9 groomsmen are paying $3,000 and they have to be there, that is a good $54,000 going towards your wedding. It's guaranteed that it's going to be paid for.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's pretty. I don't know, it's pretty slimy.
Money maker.
It's slimy though.
Oh, it is. Oh yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, it's Nicole. It's Nicole.
I heard that Nicole fans are coming out for people hard. I don't know if you listened to Jolene Lenzer, but she just has all these impersonations of Nicole Franzel and Christmas, and they're saying, the stands are saying that people are just, what's like Nicole jealousy or something. They made up a friend zealousy. And they're like, you can't take Janellecy away from Janelle and give it to Franzel. And nobody's jealous of Nicole Franzel, which is really funny. Ron says this is true. Olay backed out and now at the Ramada Inn in Flint, Michigan. I've never been to Michigan. No, I've been to Detroit. I'm lying. But I did hear that Olay did back out when they saw that she was being insensitive to Ian and his autism. She was allowing people to joke about him, which was not on brand, I would say, definitely for a beauty sponsor. So yep, she's gonna probably have to keep that money to stay on their farm. D'Angelo and I have to apologize. I was calling D'Angelo DeAndre last week, and this is because on Love Island, which I had been talking about every day for a month and a half, that there is a man that was on there named DeAndre. And so I just had that name in the brain. Yes. And I definitely know the difference between these two men. I don't think that everybody that has a D in the front of their name are the same person. I just completely, I even wrote down in my notes DeAndre. So I didn't recognize it in the moment. And so I apologize if I offended anybody by calling DeAndre or D'Angelo DeAndre. Did you just let me go?
I noticed it. I think you did it like 3 or 4 times. And I was just like, this is my first time on the show. I'm going to be nice and not say.
No, don't let me do it. Don't let me do it. I was so embarrassed. Oh my God.
No, it's all good. It's all good. They're both very nice names.
Absolutely. But they're just different names. I mean, especially as somebody that people always ask me, do you prefer to be called Chantele or Chantal or Chantelle or Chantal? And so people are always very considerate of how to pronounce my name. And so the fact that I wasn't considerate enough to even say his name, I'm very confident. So, oops. So if I ever do it again or in any sort of fashion, I do not mind being corrected because you never know what happens in your brain. You just start talking and then you don't realize you can make a mistake. So D'Angelo and Gary were definitely talking about being at the bottom, they were last in, and they definitely didn't expect that, being from their, they're used to winning and being a winner, we'll say, in kind of society, probably captain of the football team in high school and then go into the major leagues, not major leagues, but NFL, and they are used to doing well. And so it was probably a very humbling experience for them. But I do agree they did overcome adversity because Gary didn't look like that was going to be something that he was going to complete. So how do you feel about their so far?
No, I like the team. I think that they're going to be fun to watch. I think they've got a lot of great energy. I think that D'Angelo, we talked about this last week, probably at the pit stop, Gary and him had a nice long chat about, maybe you should do things that you're better at. Because D'Angelo was like, I should have done that task, and he really should have done that task. You could just sort of feel that he was as soon as he read the clue and the guy they started, he was like, "This would have been a better test for me to do." So,
but I was saying last week as well that I felt that he wasn't ready to stand up yet, and so I think that he maybe he's gotten the jitters out now, and like he's willing to like be like, "Hey, like we can do this. I got this. If I say that I'm going to do it, I'm going to be able to do it." I think he was just nervous, maybe being the one that failed first on the team. Like I think that he just didn't want to have that on his conscience. So
yeah. And probably the same for Levon on the hurdlers team was probably the same, because she was quite quiet in the first episode, and I think probably she had the same thing. And then being at the bottom, but they survived. They both got their jitters out for both teams. They're ready to race. So.
Ready to race. And then we get a soundbite and a little bit of clip about Frank and Jerry. And so we hear Jerry saying, "It looks like I'm going to have to rely on my son, Frank." And I was like, oh, man, that sounded to me. That was like in my ear. I was like, okay, the focus is on him. Or like this. I was like, oh, boy, I don't feel confident about this. No. Doing well this leg. That was my first instinct. Did you have the same thought? Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, happy. And then they got to them and I was like, that's a warning sign. That's probably the team that's going out this leg. So I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. I put a big star beside it being like, probably out or near the bottom. Okay. So they had to fly to Colombia. And then, so all the teams kind of grouped back up again together. And then when they get there, they're going to have to go to Namicon salt mines. So when they were there, they had to search these underground tunnels, and they've introduced something new. So there's these 10 and 20 minute egg timer or like hourglass timers that each team. So did they have to find one?
There was one for each team. So they had to take one. So.
And so, okay, so then that's why it makes sense then they decided whether or not they wanted to find a 20-minute one or a 10-minute one, but they had to find one no matter what. Like, because I was just thinking, like, screw the egg timers, let's just be fast, like, or whatever, let's get out of here. But, okay, if that was part of the task to find it, I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But I don't think that it's that advantageous to find the 20-minute one and get closer to the back of the pack. Yeah, you agree?
No, it was the thing to do was find one of them as fast as possible and sign up on that first flight. That was what you needed to do. Yeah, because who cares if you don't make it onto that first flight? You're in the back, and then if you get eliminated, you don't even get to use that egg timer. Like, who cares? Like, it's always what's the best decision right now.
Yes,
that's what you got to do.
Now, I have a question with the semantics of this new little task in there. So do they now have to carry around this stupid hourglass for the rest of the season until they use it?
Yeah, so actually, so I've been doing some research for you. We've got a little quiz for you about the yield. So I'm going to ask you some questions. But one thing that I found out about the old yield was all the teams were given a sticker of their face, and they had to carry that around with them for the whole race. And if they lost that sticker, and a couple teams in the past did, they weren't actually allowed to use the big sticker to put on the board. So because I guess they put them in the little corner like that. That they were able to use it.
Who yielded you, and you see the name there.
Yeah, and then there would be another sticker that would go on that little sticker. It's like, oh, okay, like okay.
Right.
So I have some yield questions for you. I want to test your knowledge.
Okay, like rolling my eyes.
Okay,
I'm very open to this, but I don't think I will know the answer. No, I'm going to be embarrassed.
Do you remember the first season the yield showed up?
Okay, I'm just going to guess a season number, and it's going to be season number 10.
Okay.
5?
Season 5.
That's what I meant.
Yes. Okay, in that season, it was only used once, even though they could have used it on every leg. Do you remember who used it?
Are you kidding me? Can you give me like 5 teams that I can choose from?
Okay. Well, it was okay. It was the winners of season 5. And they yielded Colin and Christy. and it caused a bit of a issue.
Season. Oh, Flo and Zach? Like, I don't remember who's on it.
Chip and Kim. Okay, here's a fun one. Which team, instead of going straight to the yield, picked up McDonald's and ate McDonald's on the mat?
Is that the same season 5?
No.
McDonald's on the mat.
I won't answer. Let's see if anybody that's watching knows the answer to that.
One. EJ, tell us.
And do you know which team has yielded more than once? They've used their yield more than once, and they're known as the yield team, the team that likes to yield to other teams.
I don't know, Afghanimals? Like, I don't remember.
The beauty queens, Dustin's and Ken. So the yield actually stopped being used after season 11.
Okay.
Because after the first All-Stars, they stopped doing that, and then the next season they turned it into the U-turn.
Right.
So we actually haven't seen the yield since season 11. So when this happened, because I had no idea that this was happening, I was like, "Oh, the yield's back!" As a super fan, I was like, "Yield, why?"
I was like, I'm like, oh, I remember this used to exist. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, this is familiar, but like, I've seen so many other iterations of the show that I'm just like, I get confused by what happened when. I'm not a historian, super fan like you are. Ron says season 8. Is that a kid giving me?
It was season 8. It was the Weaver family.
I don't remember the Weaver family. Only family I would remember, but I don't remember actually, is Stassi from Vanderpump Rules. Her family was
the
on
Schroders
version of The Amazing Race. I don't remember that, but if I went back, I'm sure I'd recognize the team. And Stassi was probably bratty with her family. I would imagine. Do you remember her? Do you watch Vanderpump?
Oh yes, so she was on the Schroeder family, and her team actually they didn't get that bad of a light, but they feuded a bit with the Weaver family, but I think that they went kind of early, the Schroeder family. I think they were like 3rd or 4th out. Yeah.
So was it Kisha and Jen who had McDonald's?
No, it was the Weavers.
Oh, right, you just said that. I don't even remember you say that. Okay, like, you've done rewatches. This is like 20 years ago that I watched these seasons. And do you know how many episodes of television and Amazing Race and Big Brother and Survivor, all iterations, I've seen?
A lot, just like me. but yes. You watch all those additional ones too, though, right? Like, you've got all those other shows. So one last yield question. How many times has the yield been used and the team actually went home that leg? The team that got yielded.
3 times. What?
Only once. Only once. So it's not that effective. It's not that, like, doesn't really do much. So
that's probably why they took it away.
Yeah. And 10 to 20 minutes does not seem like really that big of a deal. Like,
not especially in Amazing Race, with them not being able to book their own times and stuff like that. Like, it's just like front of the pack or back of the pack, and so it doesn't really matter as much as, like, 10 minutes could mean like first or second at this point. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess like Phil had said that they were going back to like, the roots of The Amazing Race. So maybe bringing this back in was part of them wanting to be nostalgic about the season. So I appreciate it. Nobody used it this leg, correct?
No, they got the choice to, but nobody chose to use it. So, and I think it's too early to use something like that unless you really think you're in trouble.
Well, yeah, but like, if you're in trouble, you probably won't be able to use it because you're at the back.
Wow. Yeah.
The person that's really going to need to use it will never get the chance, is kind of why it's not that. It's like, for the second last team using it is kind of like they can push them a little bit further back, but that's pretty much the only time it's really going to get used, because if you're at the front of the pack, you're not going to bother using the yield because it's going to make, teams that are behind you see like, oh, they're kind of snakes. Like, okay, let's keep them on our radar. If we have the chance, maybe we'll take them. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily want to put your target as someone that's going to be playing that ruthlessly, especially so early in the season. So I get why nobody used it. I don't think I would ever really use it unless it was to save myself. Like, so yield happens. They have, well, it doesn't actually happen, but they have to go and sign up for a 6 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. or a.m. flight. So there's a flight to where? I was so confused by the semantics of this whole section.
I don't remember where they went. They went to.
Is that when they're going? They drove to Bogota, right?
They drove to. Yes, they drove to Bogota, and then they got on a flight, and they.
What the flight was for, or was it just a departure time? Like
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, it was a departure time because then they drove into town. Yeah, that's what happened.
So leave from your taxi at the same time at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. So they weren't allowed to leave until 6 because they all ran up the steps to get to the taxis. Yeah.
Okay. Makes more sense. I was like, why do they need to sign up here? Like, what's? But I guess it'll be daytime where they're doing all this stuff. I guess that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah. Figuring it out. Adam says, after the amazing sleepover in the caves. Right.
Now, what happens in that situation? Would you be able to fall asleep with 20 people around you?
It's like it's apart from the salt mine. Yeah, sorry, Adam. I didn't see that you answered our question. You saved me racking my brain as to what could have possibly happened. I can always sleep.
Yeah, me too. But Ron said to me, he's like, I'm not getting any sleep that night. I'm like, no.
Really?
Yeah, he can't sleep.
I'm just blessed to be able to sleep no matter what. Unless, I don't drink coffee very much. And so if I have maybe coffee in my system, I might have one of those weird cold sweats kind of sleep, but I'll still kind of sleep. But I can sleep standing up. I can sleep on a plane. I can sleep like with my head like this. Like I just okay. I worked as a flight attendant for 7 years. Like sometimes like it's really funny. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a flight attendant secret that one a woman told us once, because we're not allowed to sleep when we're working. Obviously, you get why, like, we're supposed to be alert. We're supposed to be able to, react in situations very effectively and be awake. But the hours that we get some of the times are just very irregular, and your sleep pattern gets completely set off, changing time zones, whatnot. Now, the pilots are allowed to have intermittent sleep, where like watched rest times and stuff like that, where we're checking on them. So they're allowed to sleep, kind of, but like we're not allowed to do that same thing. And so one woman told me once, she's like, well, if you ever want to like get just a little bit of sleep, just make sure you have your hands in the prayer position. So if you're like sleeping and someone comes in, you're like, oh, amen. Nobody can ever say anything to you if they think that you're praying.
You're praying. I think that would scare me more. The flight attendant's praying. Like what's wrong with the plane?
Well, it would be another flight attendant that would probably catch them doing this. So, I mean, it might be scary to a passenger, but
that's great.
But anyways, so like, you want to take a couple seconds of shut eye? So there is a secret. You heard it here first, guys. So they're driving in these taxis, and I'm feeling bad because, first group is going to be D'Angelo and Gary, Eswar and Aparna, Will and James, and Hung and Chi were the first 5 that left the salt mines for Bogota. And so they decided to group together and work together as a team of 5 or whatever. What do you think about this strategy?
Smart. And I think that also goes with that would not have made sense for any team to use a U-turn at the lead, because they made this promise. I think this is a strong group of 5 that if they want to, for a couple legs work together, they could push ahead. So it just depends if they're able to keep that relationship going. But I thought it was smart. Like, I mean, you've got half an hour on the other teams. Why not at least push. Let's get rid of one of the other teams, right? Build that relationship.
And this is what I'm kind of, one of the new game mechanics that I'm not sure if I like is really this like team, like front of the pack, back of the pack, either in the front or you're in the back. And I liked it more where everybody was more staggered out. Instead of like, if you're in the back, like you really might go out of the game. Like it's very easy for that to happen. I don't necessarily like that. I like people moving positions and moving back and forth. Like I like it a little bit more scrambled, as opposed to like knowing pretty much if you're in the back of the pack, you are racing to stay in the game as opposed to racing to win the leg. And so what do you think about that as being something that it's a new version of The Amazing Race?
I don't know though. I mean, I kind of feel, the airplanes used to do that to people in the old days where like if they got on a good flight, they'd be up at the front and then those teams would tend to work together, or they'd work together at the airport. And then the ones that were in the back struggled, and it's almost
they're
thinning out the
still control
out the herd.
Say yes, right?
We're thinning out the herd here. We're getting rid of the weakest person. So I mean, they had a chance. Those back 5 teams. There was 5 teams in there. 4 of them get to stay. Who was the weakest of those 5 teams? And it was close. I don't know. I think if it was 8 teams and 2 teams at the back, that would feel really bad. Like that would suck. The fact that it was half and half, it might have organically made it that way. Like I don't know.
Well, like we've been talking a lot about Big Brother this summer, and New School Big Brother seems to like having these big alliances that kind of pick out the outside alliance. And so I'm kind of feeling as though this allows for that to happen a little bit. Like now those front 5 teams are able to kind of be strong, and now the bottom teams, we can be just pushed back more and not able to do as well. I know they're probably going to be equalized at this piss top a little bit. Have a fight where things might shake up. But I think that when teams could make their own flights and they're not half the teams on one, half teams on the other, it just allowed people to move from their position in the race better. And I think different alliances might develop, as opposed to like just the front half for this leg, they become the alliance and they're just going to take out the people that weren't in that group. You know what I mean? So
I did feel though that it wasn't huge benefit to some of those top front teams, because the first thing that they had to do after they climbed those stairs was get into a taxi, and they all sort of arrived at different times at that square. Like some of them were already done and leaving and going, oh, you got to go park up there. Like that wasn't a huge help really. Like that was just like, go park up there. And then they just kept going. So they were helping each other, but not helping each other, I think. But that's good. That's
no U-turn, don't use turn us kind of packs and stuff like that. It's kind of like they're able to group together because they were lucky enough to be at the front of the pack this particular leg. That I'm thinking it may impact the people that weren't in that front group this leg. And so that's what I'm just worried about, is that the bullying of like the group mentality of the people in the front. So I mean, I could be wrong, but
we'll keep an eye on it.
PTSD for like these big blob alliances. Just
Big Brother has scarred you this season, hasn't it?
It's so painful. I don't even know if I'm going to watch tonight. I haven't watched this week's episodes. It's crazy. Says that he wouldn't have slept. Less about the people and more about you are underground in a cave. No, I think I would do it. I don't think I would care. I mean, no, I don't think I'd care. No, I like sleep. So, okay, maybe you can also help me understand what happened here. So they parked their taxi somewhere. It didn't seem like there was like a designated spot to park the taxi. Then they had to go on foot somewhere. Was there a specific name to where they had to go on foot?
They were given the information and the clue depending on what item they got. So they either had a golden, I missed what it was. It was a golden statue, little statue.
Or it was a golden raft.
Golden raft, or like an emerald stone. The emerald stone they had to find out in the square, but they didn't. They had to find the person, so they knew it was in the square, but they didn't know who exactly to go to. and then the golden raft, they had to go just a little bit further and go into a place. So they actually were told to go straight to this location. So it might have taken just a little bit longer. But
between the raft and the emerald,
they just picked out of a basket, and honestly, I did not really get the vibe that any of the teams had. Like, I don't think that there was like an advantage on either of them because they were in the exact same place almost. They were just, one was in the building, like, because it was like a square, and one was in the square. So,
right. So
it didn't really affect too much.
If they were in the front of the path, like all working together, that they would have all chosen the same one. That's why I was just like, what? Like, why wouldn't they have all just chosen the emerald and find the emerald together? But I was like, maybe there was a rhyme or reason as to why they picked one over the other. So you're just saying one was slightly further away, but not much, kind of thing?
But not much, yeah. And honestly, I did not really get a vibe as to why they did that. Like, I mean, if they had split them up and like they had to just pick one and find out what it was, like by surprise, that might have been more fun, especially if they were in two sort of different places.
Right.
But the fact that they were in the same place, I was like, why, who cares? Like, and they didn't even have to do anything with them. They just, here's the rock, here's the raft.
I mean, I was a little bit happy with the guy that was like, this is a fake. And Riley was like, what? We just ran around 2 hours, and like they're starting to like backpedal. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe we have to go do this again. And the guys still gave him the I thought that was a good misdirect and nice acting chops on the bearded man So 5 teams, yeah, they work together. Hung and Chi, though, they had a lot of trouble finding the dealer, and I thought I was getting worried. I know that the editing is going to make me feel a certain way about certain things happening. And so I fell for it again. But were you worried about them? Like when they didn't seem to be able to find the dealer?
No, I knew that they would find it. It wasn't that hard of a task, I don't think. I think you just look for the people that are standing in one place in the square for that part. But
why do you think, though, that Riley and Madison had so much trouble finding their taxi driver? Did he move? Or did they just not remember where he was or was planning on parking?
I don't know, because the other teams all got them to go to that like parking sort of area, and they got out of their car like right at the square. I don't know if they had told him to stay. I would think that they would, but maybe he had to move, because I think that they got out and they went straight in. So maybe the car had to move, and I don't know. But it was funny that the taxi driver found them and not the other way around. So that's a nice taxi driver.
Well, I mean, he probably wants, he's like, oh, you like get some money out of these guys. They have
that's
money.
Right.
But he waited for them, so maybe he kept the meter running and he wants to get his money there. And like, it's a guaranteed fare. They're going to take him somewhere else. So I mean, I'd probably look for them too, because I'd be like, I want that fare from these American guys. My thought. I was worried about them though. I was like, oh my god, are they gonna like? I felt like a lot of messy gameplay was happening this episode. I was like, you can't be sloppy so early. Like, I hope you guys clean this up.
I feel like they sort of tried to make it seem like that was more of a dramatic task, but realistically, it was climb stairs and deliver an item to a place right there. They didn't really do much in that task. So
I think the hard was Riley and Madison finding their taxi driver was a harder task than what they had to do. Yeah. The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
So the next clue that they receive is who feels like clowning around. So
all right,
I would probably do this.
Who feels like clowning around?
Me.
So it would be, I would say, because we didn't get to see what was in the building when you approached the box, and so if you open it up and it says who feels like clowning around, I would say you, because I hate clowns.
You're one of those people.
I cannot stand them. I don't understand people that want to be clowns. I don't get it. It's not my world.
So you can't stand clowns. Can we talk a little bit about this? Is it like you had an I didn't realize I had my Bachelorette little sticker up here. Did you notice this and didn't tell me? You did, didn't you?
No. Oh, there. Oh, it's so cute.
So continue chatting while I figure out how to change this, if I can do it right now.
All right. Well, I don't like clowns because I don't like not knowing who it is behind the makeup.
Okay.
It isn't really as much of a horror movie thing or anything like that. It's I have the same thing with like people in mascot outfits and that. It's because I don't know who it is, and so it freaks me out. And I don't get why people want to do that. Like,
okay, so how do you feel about Halloween?
Halloween's the one. I love Halloween, but clowns still creep me out on Halloween, so I don't know.
Well, this is not really a funny story, but you know that I host a weekend-long Big Brother, and at the house that we do it, the owner, he's a big fan of Halloween, and he always has these grandiose Halloween parties with tons of decorations and whatnot. And so in his garage, he has like some clown paraphernalia. And so I think one of the people that were playing, one of the house guests, knew that one was like, they'd said that like, oh, I'm scared of clowns. Kind of like how you just kind of disclosed that you don't really like whatever. I don't know if he realized that she was terrified of them. Yeah, so he brought the clown in and put it in her sleeping area. And so when she went to get her stuff, she sees this clown and gets scared. And so scared that she actually had a panic attack, had to call her parents. Like, it was like, it became a very, I mean, granted, she was drinking, so maybe her emotions were a little bit high or whatnot, but like, she really, and I didn't know that that really was a thing, that people have panic attacks and like these really intense emotional responses to clowns. So I was smiling.
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary.
I might have said I'm not afraid of clowns. Yeah, so like that was my first experience of somebody that actually was like very traumatized by clowns, or I don't know, has some history with them that like doesn't really allow her to react very well to them. So that was an interesting experience. But to me, I don't mind clowns. I'll dress up like a clown. In school, so I went to an art school. In grade 4, there was actually, we had to take clowning and miming and stuff like that. And so I can do a little bit of mime stuff, like pull a rope. I can do that. We had to do clowning and stuff like that as well. So I'm familiar with that. And then I was a gymnast as well. So the tightrope thing seems like it would be kind of easy. And I've been a waitress, so I can carry a tray. So I think that I would be the better person.
I think it would have been a good pick. I have no issues with heights, and I think the tightrope would have been fine for me. But yeah, I think after reading that clue, I would have been like, "This is you, Chantele. Time to shine."
I'm like, no. Like, I think you should do it, Phil. just for the camera time. That would be actually really funny. But everybody seemed to do it. The first group of people were pretty good at it, if I'm not mistaken. D'Angelo was great at it. I was really happy that he stepped up and did it. And he didn't seem to have any problems with doing it. Like, there was full confidence. Like, he just did it well the first time that he went around. I thought he was pretty good. And same with Hung. I don't think that she had any problems with it either.
No, and actually she surprised me because I thought about it after, and I was like, she's shown how like short she is, and I don't think that they were accommodating the umbrella height and that for her, so she could have had more difficulty. Now she probably also has a better center of balance because she's shorter, but that would have been tough to do if you're short, I think. So she did very well there. The only team that had any issues, I think, was Alana had some issues with that task.
I've been surprised. Like, they haven't shown them that much, but I thought that they would be a little bit more together, or more. I think I just thought they would be better. They're just kind of a little bit messy, and like they're not meticulous. I thought that they'd have like just be a little bit more regimented, a little bit more particular maybe about things. Like, I just find that they're just kind of like scattered and all over the place, and I just didn't expect them to have that energy with their team. So I was surprised. I know that she's afraid of heights or whatnot, and I get that. So her dropping, I think it was the bottle and she just was dropping stuff. I get it if she's scared, but I just didn't really expect her not to have it more focus.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't see if any other teams did fall or anything, but I think the fact that she was the only one that did, maybe that's why they really harped on it. I don't know. I feel like this team could do really well, but they haven't hit I don't think they're over their jitters yet on the race. I think they're still learning how this works. And so that hopefully they figure it out before they're eliminated.
It doesn't seem like they're super fans of the show. They might have watched a few seasons and they knew to do some homework, but I don't know how Amazing Race versed they are. Now, what was the wheel called where they were spinning? Like D'Angelo called it the death wheel, but I don't know if that was the official name. Did they call it something?
I did not get the name for that. It's some sort of the wheel. I don't know. The clown wheel of torture. I don't know.
Would you be scared to do that?
Not at all. No, that I love spinny rides. I love all that stuff.
Spinny rides. People like spinny rides. Like teacups.
Love them.
I mean, I go on all rides. I've had when I was younger, I had a season pass to Canada's Wonderland every year. So I definitely am a big fan of rides and roller coasters, but I actually never really liked these cups after, because sometimes I would actually get sick if I didn't spot properly. You'd actually really have to do your spotting and or I got sick, and I don't want to ruin my time at Wonderland from getting nauseous.
No,
I've never really had like seasick or anything like that before, but like one time I went on the teacups and I got so sick. So not a fan.
Not good. No.
But the other stuff like scramblers and stuff like that are like at fairs, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But what about the Gravitron one that
that's fine. When the ground goes down and you're just like, I like that. I do.
Yeah, there's some guy that runs up and jumps up in the air. Yeah.
I don't know if this is something, it just popped into my head right now, but like, I know you're a games master. Do you think we could do some sort of like scavenger hunty game thing where you had to get like stamps and stuff like that, like at Wonderland, like some sort of like,
oh yeah,
how fun could that be? Like you had to get certain things and like different stuff that happens at Canada's Wonderland, plus like getting ride stamps or ride this and like get a funnel cake and I don't know, get your picture taken with the big grizzly man or whatever, you know?
That's Reality Realness 2021 Summer Games at Wonderland. There we go.
Fun.
We're on it.
I mean,
sign up today. Subscribe and sign up.
I mean, I think it's a really fun idea. I love scavenger hunts. I love rides. I love games. I think that we could maybe create something really fun. Like have the arcade be part of it, the bumper cars. Like, you writing it down?
I'm on it.
Does it make
the list? On it.
Listen,
it's on the list.
It's so good.
I'll work on that.
One. Adam says that like Alana and Leo warned us, just because they have glasses doesn't mean they're smart. Savage. Adam is correct. Well, I don't know if it had to do with smarts, the tightrope walking, but doesn't mean that they're going to be good at things. Ron, does that mean you're enjoying this potential idea? Hide and seek at Wonderland, like F yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun too.
Intertwine everything. Something's happening here. You've met Nick now before, right?
Yes.
So maybe Nick could also help us conceptualize, because he's a game master. I don't know if he likes rides or not. I can find out. But we could maybe coordinate.
Well, he doesn't have to go on though. We'll host.
Like he might not just like have no Canada's Wonderland. Did you go on there? I'm sure before? Like you're from Ontario.
Oh yeah, I went like every year. Like I would go all the time. I love that.
Well, and also though, just like maybe if I'm like conceptualizing a whole series now, but like maybe it could be like landmarks of like fun landmarks of Ontario, and like we could do one in like Casino Niagara area and have like some sort of like scavenger hunt and go to like the casino and get certain whatever, and like the wax museum and like go to the, I don't know, that could be another fun little thing.
Oh my goodness. We'll do our own race.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. God, I'll be on the bench ride near the squad. Womp, womp, womp. Lazy river guy over here. I guess, Ron, you don't like rides? I love rides so much. When was the last time you've been to Wonderland?
Pardon?
When was the last time you've been to Wonderland?
2 or 3 years ago.
Pretty recently. Yeah. So you know all the new rides. You love the Behemoth? That's my favorite new one.
Yes, I like the Behemoth. I like the Leviathan as well. My all-time favorite ride is the Wild Beast because as soon as I sit on it, I don't stop laughing until I'm off. I love that ride. It's so much fun.
So as you love the I call it Wildebeest, but I love Mindbuster for the exact same reason. They're
right.
Coasters, these ones, super old. Like they changed the system so you don't feel like you're dying as much as you used to, and so that was also part of the fun of it. Like you'd actually would fly out of your seat. So it is a little more secure. So I'm not giggling as much. But I love the Mindbuster for, I know all the curves and like the leans and the scream in the tunnel and like all that stuff. Like I know that ride quite well, but I like it better than Wildebeest. But they're both on my top of like, especially coasters. And the Ghoster Coaster is my ultimate favorite. That was my first ride that I ever went on. Ghoster Coaster. But now back to the Amazing Race. So yeah, I was really glad that D'Angelo did this task because like I didn't feel as though Gary would have been as good as D'Angelo was for this. Like D'Angelo seems as though he's pretty calm. It seems like he has really great balance. He has great focus, it seems. And he's not awkward. Like I feel as though Gary might be awkward at times with like his big long limbs, you know? And so I felt that D'Angelo really had a lot of finesse in how he did this task. And so I was very happy that he did this for sure. So they
and even with the clue, like clowning around, I think D'Angelo would have been like if it was some sort of like be a clown activity thing, he would have been a better pick than Gary because I think D'Angelo's got such animation to him that like, and he's got like this energy. He would be a riot to watch for that. So.
Ben says, "Hi Ben, how are you? Gary is the best. I like Gary, but I think that D'Angelo was better for this task. No shade on Gary, but he's a lot taller and a little more awkward, I would say, than D'Angelo is." Adam says, I have a scavenger hunt for Niagara Falls already in the can. Organized it for friends, bachelor and bachelorette party. Adam, let's revitalize this and make it happen again. Like, I just want to do gaming stuff like
this. Come on, Adam.
Adam, make it happen. I'm into it. Ben says hello to everybody. Hi, Ben. And optimal horse condition says that Gary is an octopus. So, you know, there's that. Ben says, is it weird that I have a secret crush on Phil Keoghan? No. It's not weird. I mean, he's someone that's been on our screen for a long time. We like his philisms. You know, he's a fan of this particular show that he's doing. Like he enjoys meeting these people. Like I think he really likes his job, and I think that that's very attractive for somebody. So I can see that people could be into him.
Oh yeah, they dress him very well for over the last 20 years too. I mean, there's very rarely when he's on the mat that you go, I don't like what Phil's wearing. Like usually it's pretty good. So
how much do you think that Phil makes per season?
Well, I mean, for the longest time, that was like the Emmy Award winning TV show, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if he's making quite a good deal. And he has other shows that he's done as well. So I don't know for sure, but this is your world more than me, but I think he does pretty well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think maybe you had some stats with all your knowledge. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you made at least $250,000, like at least $250,000.
Yeah.
At least. Actually, probably more than that because regular TV shows, not even super, like, they at least make 50,000 per episode. So maybe he has something like that. Maybe it's like 50 or 100,000 per episode, and which could be over $1 million for the whole season. If we look at like Big Bang Theory, they were making $1 million per episode, and that's because they were super duper popular. So I could see him making at least 100,000 an episode. Actually, now that I think about it, he's gonna make $1 million. I would say for sure for the season. Because they only really had to pay 2 people. I mean, I know it's expensive, probably all the plane tickets and like crew and all this stuff, but it's not as expensive as like some of these big, like shoot 'em up, like car crash, like TV shows where it costs like $1 million an episode. So I could see him being paid like $100,000 or 50 to 100 an episode. I wouldn't be surprised.
And it's a family friendly show too. So the sponsors really love this show too. And I mean, if you watch it on CBS, they have like the same sponsors all the time. So, I mean, yeah, they're getting quite a lot of money for it.
Wait, sorry.
I think it is more than $2. That's how that goes.
Wait, he meant to see you put 100,000. So I didn't realize. Oh, so many people had their thoughts here. So yeah, he spent at 100,000, but I think he meant to say $1 million. Is this a fact?
Oh.
1.2 million a season, or is that your guess? Because that's going to be about $100,000.
Oh, there we go.
Whoa!
Wow,
Unless he's just kidding, but I don't know. No way. I'd boost his pit stop outfits, all of them. Yeah. Oh, boot. Oh no, you don't like them. Come on, you love Phil and his turtlenecks and his leather jackets.
How can you not like them? Oh, they're like he sometimes he even dresses a little bit like for the country he's in or that or you know, and I can't believe that. He looks great. He doesn't look like he should be wearing those clothes. Like, but the clothes are nice.
I've seen him in outfits where I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't have worn that shiny shirt that's a little bit too tight. Yeah. Like a few times I've been questioning, but in general, I appreciate the look of Phil. Yeah, it's a lot of moolah. Yeah, I think $1-2. Ron says 100K per episode. Okay, you're agreeing with me. Okay, cool. Ben read it in Ben's bag. Okay, I love getting information. Wow. Ben
is on it.
Wow. 2019, Coogan reportedly earns $100,000 per episode, which puts him at the 1.2 million per season, and there are usually 12 episodes in the season. Look at that. I fucking guessed it. Google. Thanks.
Google. There we go. Everybody.
Ben says Adam Joe is crazy. Well, just leave Phil alone. He doesn't. His stylist isn't hip.
Stop me.
Stop him any day of the week. Okay, Ben. We'll see if we can get this happening. Do you know anything about Phil and his married life, or if he has a partner?
Oh, I believe he's married. I think so. I know. I mean, he's from New Zealand, and I know that when on the off season, he's back down there. He lives close to where his family grew up. I don't know tons though. He's quite.
Maybe you're gonna do a quiz. Phil Keoghan for you next week.
Yeah, he. I know he hasn't dated any of the contestants like another reality CBS host did in the past.
Are you talking about
Jeffy P?
Fair, well, maybe he hasn't. He's just better at hiding it.
True.
Very, very, very possible. So D'Angelo and Gary leave first, I believe. They decided not to yield anybody. And this is the first time that we're seeing next is that Will and James have a little bit of a curt way of speaking to each other about moves. They read it.
Yeah.
And they're talking about having the tightrope walking be a part of it. And James is like, you should do this. You're a dancer. And Will really didn't seem like he wanted to do it.
No. And it was, you need to start doing these ones, or I can't do everything. Or he said something like that. And I was like, it's only in leg 2. There's only been it's okay for the one person to do the first 2 roadblocks. It's not the end of the world. I don't know what that seems kind of odd that he was so upset about that. And yeah, if he is a dancer, if I read the clue about clowning around, I would be like, well, you want the theatrical person to be doing it,
well,
whatever it is.
absolutely. And
So,
I believe they still have the rule in place now that they have to do half and half of the roadblocks anyways, or you know what I mean? Like they have to do the tasks. So even if you end up doing the first 5, that means you're going to be off the hook for the second 5, you know, like,
right.
I think that personally that it's the pressure of doing the task that he didn't necessarily want to do that quickly again and have it all riding on him. It was probably difficult to do the Deo like in the steel drums and not be good at it right away and like feeling that pressure. He probably didn't enjoy that. And so he was probably worried that it was going to be something that he might not be able to do that well and didn't know if he wanted the pressure again that soon. And his partner hadn't felt that pressure yet. So that's what I think was coming.
Right. And maybe it's also partly, look, I know my partner well, and I need to push my partner to step up and do them. And so maybe it's part of that too as well.
They said though, then after, I could have gotten this wrong, but so Will is afraid of heights and James is not, or is it vice versa? Because they said they made the wrong.
Whichever. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was the one. And maybe people can answer. I thought it was the one who didn't do it. Said he had a problem with heights, but it could have been the one that did. And I'm still learning which one's Will and which one's James.
Blondie is Will, I believe. Blondie Will. We'll call it Will the Blonde.
Yeah. Will the Blonde. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was him who has a fear of heights. I don't remember which one it was.
Well, it didn't seem to come into play with him completing the challenge. So at least that, I guess it would have been more apparent if like, I can't do this, I'm afraid of heights, if that came up. But he seemed to be, it's not that high. It's like 6 feet high. Like, I don't know. I'm not afraid of heights really either. And so like, I don't really understand people that have these extreme phobias. So I'm just like, nothing's gonna happen. What's going on?
But it could be again part of that editing. They wanted the audience to know that because something's coming in the future. Because I know that happened, I believe, a couple seasons ago to the team that won. The Scott was petrified of heights, and he kept getting all the heights challenges, and so it could be foreshadowing to something that comes up.
Yeah, you're actually right. It's like, let's take a note of this. Will is afraid of heights. So you're not afraid of heights, you said. I don't know if I asked already, but would you do the bungee jumping challenges and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would be scared, but I would do it. But I'd be scared of that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a free fall jump off of 15-story apartment building. Just jumped off with a rope around my waist, sort of thing. So I'd be cool with doing those kinds of things. I enjoy that.
I mean, I'd let you probably do them then, since you are more like gung-ho about it. But I would do it. I would be like, okay, I'm scared, but like I will take the leap of faith for sure. When I was in Mexico in December, I was doing all these excursions. And so one was like an outdoor adventure excursion. And we went, the day that we went, we were super hungover because we went on this like pirate ship where it was like an open bar and whatnot. And so we had to go like early in the morning, we speedboat out, and then we take these mules up the mountain and this Jeep tour up the mountain. And we get to the top, and then it was like zip line, upside down zip line, standing up zip line, like rappel down. Like it was like honestly 6 hours of zip lines and rappelling while we're hungover. And like, you guys, you smell like tequila. Anyways, we made it through. The girl that I was with, Brittany, she had enough. She's actually afraid of heights because the last one was one of those super steep water slides that was just like a straight drop down. That was how you got down, or it took you like an hour to go down this long path. And so I was like, Brittany, just do it. And she's like, no, man, I'm walking. I've done enough today. And so she just like walked down. And I was like, man, this sucks, but I'm going to have to do it. So I did it. And it wasn't that bad in the end. It's like the lead up is a lot worse usually than how it actually is, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like taking that leap of faith. It's harder. Whoa. Okay. Optimum Horse says, I read that 30,000 people who bungee jump die forever each year, and 60,000 fall and damage themselves permanently. No bungee jumping for me.
Ooh.
30,000 people a year die bungee jumping? That's still quite
I don't know. That seems like a lot. So,
I think it's from the same place. Let's just not go there.
How many of them are attached to the bungee?
How many of this is manslaughter? How many hit points did they lose? What's a hit point? Oh, like in a game, maybe? he's like saying it's not your real person. Oopsie. So what happened next? So yeah, but we do learn though that Will likes the puzzle. No, James likes the puzzle. I'm confused. We'll figure it out. You
I don't know.
In the chat room, if you can figure out who was afraid of heights. Was it Will or was it James? Because James said, I thought that he's the puzzle guy.
Yeah, so then that would make me think he's not the heights guy, but maybe, I don't know.
Blondie did do the tasks, though, correct?
The blonde one did the task, so that's Will, right?
Yeah. No, worried. Worried. Whoa. Will is fine. I like Will. Okay, yeah, it was Will. Okay, so then, though, can you please remind us of when I thought that James says that James is the height person, or maybe and Will was the puzzle person. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't make my notes here, and that they made the wrong choice. Anyways, so the next part of the task that I think D'Angelo and Gary got there first, if I'm not mistaken, is they have to customize. They called it a name that I didn't write down. Did you write down the name?
No, the truck.
Okay, the truck. The truck in Spanish.
Yes.
So you have to customize it. It was kind of like Pimp. Did you watch Pimp Your Ride back in the early 2000s? Pimp My Ride?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It was like that. Yeah, they had to make it like that.
Exactly. Oh. Make it like, a quinceañera, like trucks. And so it says in the clue, and even Phil states that a lot of teams are going to get tripped up about the fact that they have to attach a horn.
Yeah.
Now, I think that if me and you were ever to go on The Amazing Race, I think that we would have to be like, let's read these clues out loud, slowly, once, and go through each of the details before we just rush and start, in this case, decorating a car. Why do you think that so many people, because it was written right on the clue, it wasn't like something that they had to figure out was part of the decoration that was a little bit sneaky. It was very clear that it was part of the objective. So A, why do you think people just skipped over it? And B, do you think that's a good strategy moving forward for, say, if we were to go on the show, of how to be thorough with the damn clues?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I understand it. I'm somebody who is armchair quarterback here. I've always said, read the clue, read the clue. I've done the charity races. We get to it, and you're so fast. You want to do well. You go through that clue like that. You don't really read everything, and you get into it. And it's just that stress and pressure of the race that you just want to get it done right before anybody else shows up. But yeah, read that clue. And honestly, I think it's read that clue, and then at least one of the two partners has to read it a second time, and just like when they're reading it, read it out loud to themselves, so that it makes sense. So
yes,
but there was a lot of teams messed up that. So
I get the adrenaline, and I get like getting there and seeing what people are doing and just starting to copy them. And then seeing them finish and being like, oh, well, I just have been copying them. Like, all I can recognize that they're doing is putting up these decorations. But I think that the extra 5 seconds that it would take to slow down and be very just concentrated on reading the clue, it will save a lot of times of not knowing what they did wrong. And so that would be my advice moving forward is like, even if you want to be fast, take that extra second with the clue and be like, okay, so it says da 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 da. Okay, first we're gonna go to, and you know what I mean, and just like, and talk back. So, for instance, I'm going to talk another thing about a flight attendant. And so part of like our training, when say we're in an emergency and we need to get somebody to help us do something in an emergency situation, we give them the facts as what they need to do. And then we ask them to repeat it and demonstrate, like mark what we just did. So like, do you understand? And they'll say yes. And then they would reiterate what we had just taught them. And so I think that that's something that needs to be reiterated because, you know, they're in adrenaline mode. They're not fully paying attention. They're just like, go, go, go. And it's like, no, repeat after me. You know what I mean? And then you're going to repeat it and you're going to remember it. And so I would be taking in that skill of getting somebody under duress to focus and be able to replay what I just did or what I said.
Yeah. They were also given a clue in another clue in it, which was the judge, every time that they were right, would actually go all the way up into the truck and press the horn.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that that was happening probably should have been a clue. Like they're like, well, that's weird. Why is he going up into the truck and pressing the horn? So, but you know, you're so into it, like that you might not notice those things. So.
Yes, it was just very frustrating. Rookie mistakes, absolutely a rookie mistake with people not reading that clue. It's kind of like one of the tropes that you're like, read the clue. Anytime people are doing poorly, it's because they didn't read some important information. So yeah, the horn is the missing piece. Hung gets there as well, Hung and Chi, and she was always very afraid of her height being something that would be hindering her in this race, like if there's anything to reach things, which you were considering with the umbrella. But in this case, she was able to stand under, I don't know, the mud flap, I don't know, car terminology, but in front of the tire thing, and she was able to actually just stand there and be able to work effectively at a good height level for her. So I thought that was cute that she brought in that, like, she's small and mighty, but it's not going to hinder her doing well in this particular race so far anyways.
No, and I mean, honestly, that truck must have been quite big. I mean, I know she's short, but like she's not that short, and the tire was her size almost. So like that was a big truck to be decorating there. So I like that it showed her under the truck and actually like getting in there and doing that. It's like, good for her.
Well, and even with them, I was very surprised that they missed that piece. And he thought that maybe it was like the screws needed to be completely flush. And so I guess like also, I know that we're being armchair quarterbacks or whatever, Monday morning, whatever, all that stuff. But like, I feel as if I got it wrong once, I'd be like, okay, hold on, let's just go back and read the clue. Like, we think that we did it all correctly right now. Instead of doubling down on what we've already done, let's see if there's something that we might have missed.
Yeah.
That's how I go about it. Because it just seems, hopefully they just all learned and they'll be like, I'm going to be a little bit more particular moving forward, but they usually don't. At all. Once in this, I guess they're in the second group. I don't think they're in the first group of teams. They're in the taxi, and I think their taxi seems lost, and they were running around, and they seem lost. And it was Alana that was afraid of heights too. Oh yeah, and she dropped the bottle. Got it. But yeah, the blondes, they don't seem to have, for me, any urgency in their gameplay. Like, how have you been feeling about them this episode? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry, what's her name? Caitlin and
Haley.
Sorry.
And Haley. I don't think that they've shown the full gusto yet of the race. No, they're a little quiet. I'm not really getting a good read on them. I was cheering for them because I needed them to stay in it for the pool. But no, I thought they were the ones that when it was down to the three teams, they were the ones that were like checked what was the wrong issue with the horn. So that was smart of them. Like they asked and they got the information that they needed to do the change in the horn, and that snuck them ahead of the other two teams. So that was good.
So they didn't yield anybody as well. And then we see Michelle, who apparently loves cars. She works in the automotive sales. She was super excited. She's coming across a little bit more as a tomboy that I was going to give her credit for at the very beginning. And we were thinking that she's going to be the villain. I think that she's going to be the likable underdog between that team. Because it seems like Victoria is a little bit more, not snobby, but a little bit more I'm better than you with her sister. She has like, there's a kind of like an unbalancedness in there. But I think I'm going to be vibing more with Michelle.
Michelle, yeah. I love this team. I'm so glad that I picked them. And they did so well these last two legs. They were the only team that was in the bottom 5 that got into the top 5. And they were like racing hard. So they ran a really good race this leg. So
Hung and Chi, did they reread the clue? Were they the first one to do that? I think so. Anyway,
did they or no? Or did they look at his? Did they look at D'Angelo and Gary's?
They left.
I thought they looked at it.
Hung and Chi left first.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, they must have looked at the clue. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, because I think they're like, oh my god, the horn, and they said it so loud. Yeah. Okay, that was another thing I had to have. Keep information quiet. I say this in Big Brother. Stop telling people your business. Like, knowledge is power. Especially in The Amazing Race. If you figure out that, oh my God, we didn't read the clue properly and everybody is not reading it, don't be like, it's the horn! And go and run back to your partner and then go and obviously like start connecting something. And then everyone's like, it's the horn! And they can figure it out. So, I mean, maybe people are just not as cutthroat as I am, but it's for $1 million. That could change my life and my family's life forever. I'm going to keep the information about the horn to myself, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And that should have been what the Alana and Leo, that's what they should have done. They should not have told the girls about the horn.
Oh, and there's some controversy going on about that decision. We'll bring that up shortly. So D'Angelo and Gary, they didn't seem to have trouble with the horn because they probably read the damn clue because it wasn't inconspicuous. So yeah, Hung and Chi left first again, which I was pretty impressed. And they get to the mat first. They didn't even really show them having any trouble or any race, whatever. You did really well this week. I'm not gonna lie, your teams were very good. Hung and Chi, so they win a trip or two to Switzerland from Travelocity. And I wanted to share something. So Justin said that the green team from a few seasons ago, he says that because they won, I think it was 5 legs of the race and they won 5 trips. And so apparently they still have to pay the taxes on the trip. So any of the money that they actually were able to win, it actually, because I think second place, he said maybe got 50,000. Like there was like a tier system of like the second and third place teams did get some money, and obviously the longer that you were in the game, you got probably your $1,000 a week stipend. But he said that they didn't end up making any money because most of the money that they made pay for the trips that they took. Their taxes and like obviously preparing to go to these other locations. So he didn't actually make any really extra money. Maybe a couple $1,000s were like to save, but out of the 50 or 100,000, whatever they end up making, like they only really took home a very small portion of it when they paid for their trips. That kind of bums, eh?
That's kind of bum. Because winning the trips seems so fun, and they'd make more money if they didn't win the trips.
Well, like, can I just take the cash value for that, please?
Yeah.
Or figure out a way. Like, I just don't think that it's fair that the show doesn't pay for the tax. Pay the damn tax. Yeah. Or give them more money to pay the tax. One of the two.
It's a nice prize, though.
Oh, definitely. I'll take the trip. I've never been to Switzerland.
I have.
Laughing at us. Always read the clue. Yeah, I know. Read the damn clue. It's just like something that you could control. Yeah. And I always want to make sure that the things I control, I do as well as I can, because the things that are out of my control, they're just that. So okay, so D'Angelo and Gary get to the mat second, I believe, and there's obviously a person that is a local from the country, and so it seems like it was a Colombian soccer player, and so Phil was like, "Watch this," and so the soccer player has a soccer ball between his legs, and he does a back tuck with the soccer ball between his legs, and then D'Angelo's like, "I can do that," and just does a back tuck. Like I was like impressed, but I think Phil must know that he can do a back tuck to be like, watch this.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a moment. I was happy that he had some gymnastics training, and you know, was probably part of the cheer squad in high school as well as the football team. You know, and yeah,
that's your roadblock. If we have to do that, that's your roadblock. I cannot do that.
I can do cartwheels. I can do handstands. I could probably still do some walkovers if for $1 million. I can figure it out how to do those again. I could probably still do the splits, but I don't think I can do any tumbling unless maybe I can do it on maybe a trampoline or into like water.
I could do a somersault, but you have to give me an hour to get back up.
Just say like.
Just let me lay for a second.
We'll do it in the mines, in the caves. Like you can just lay down, you'll fall asleep.
Into my sleeping bag. I'm asleep.
Man, not even a somersault. Okay, I'll definitely do those tasks though. I can still do it. I can always do a somersault. Always. So yeah, when they get to the mat, I thought it was a cute moment. D'Angelo's like, well, look, what's wrong with you, Phil? Like, you're there, you're wearing a jacket. Like, it's so hot. And Phil's like, you know, I'm not just standing here. Like, you're running around. And so I thought it was funny that D'Angelo was kind of chirping Phil, you know, giving him, what are you doing wearing a jacket? It's not cold out. I like them interacting with Phil. Like instead of him just being like the guy that says like 10 words at the end of the episode, like when people have a bit of a relationship with them, I enjoy that. So I was happy to see them vibing a little bit. So James and Will like are still at that detour, and he doesn't want to read the clue again. So James is like, hey, like we're not getting it right, like let's read the clue again. And Will is like, we know what we have to do, we just have to decorate this thing, blah 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 blah. And James didn't press him to be like, just go in your fanny pack and give me the clue. Like I don't know why that was a fight. I know that we were already talking about the fact that like they might become the villains of the season, but why do you think that he just wouldn't read the clue?
I don't know. I get the vibe that that there was Will was in a bit of a mood that day because he seemed to like, I don't know, maybe the sleeping in the mines didn't work out for him, but he seemed to be in a bit of a bad mood because he was quite snippy with James throughout the day. I think that looking back on it, they put that in there. I think you know, you should have looked back at that clue. That was a big mistake because as soon as they read that clue, they knew what they had to do, right?
And there were also people that weren't that subtle about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know you figured it out, but like, you don't want to be having a foot race against people.
It's happening all around you. Like, I mean, like they're figuring it out. Like the fact that they just stood there and looked at the other teams and they couldn't see what was going on, what was wrong, and then the other teams are fixing it. I don't know.
Not good. And so they finally figured it out, obviously. And if I was James, I'd be like, oh, look at that. We didn't read the clue, but he kind of seemed like he was taking responsibility as it, like we've watched every season, like we should know better than that. Like it was like he was letting Will off the hook for the fact that he could have cost them the leg because he had the right instinct to read the clue as being someone that's a super fan of the show. And so I thought like if it were me, I'd be like, dude, I was right. Like I would have given him one of those. Wouldn't you have? I would have. Like, come on.
I probably would have too, but probably from a team dynamics and moving forward, he's probably done the right thing there and just been like, we screwed up. I know that I talk like that in my relationship whenever somebody does something wrong. I hope they don't hear me. I always say, well, we did something wrong.
We did something wrong. Right? I mean, yeah, I guess it's true that everybody will know that Will was the one that could have screwed that up and that he was just maybe not making him feel that badly about it. But I think it's also showing more about their relationship. It seems as though Will is more dominant, we'll say, in like how the relationship goes, and that I'd say, you know, James is more maybe submissive in his having his agenda be the one that's the loudest voice or be heard. So we're learning more about them. I still like them.
Oh yeah.
They are being a little bit, or Will is being a little bit snippy, and so I hopefully that changes. I think it's the stress of the race as well. Like it is a lot of pressure to do the first 2 tasks and feel like you have their game on the shoulders of your partner, who is the super or the more super fan. Wee!
Sorry.
Hilarious. Okay, so second place we said was D'Angelo and Gary. Third place was Riley and Madison. We didn't really see much of them. I don't know if they heard or how they figured out the horn thing, or if they just didn't have any problems with it. But they were out. They got in their third. Eswar and Aparna. We didn't really see much about them at that roadblock either. And then fifth place was Michelle and Victoria. So these are all your team, except for
teams.
But they're all your team.
Woohoo! I'm in.
All your 4 teams are top 5.
Yeah. And I love them. I think that they were all wonderful. I wrote down about Riley and Madison. The only note that I had down for them for the whole episode was, "We get it, you have beards." I don't want that to be their storyline, because they're like they seem like a strong team and everything. But they like this episode, all they kept talking about was their beards. It felt like, and I'm like, what is this?
You don't have beards because it's like you can't see their full face, kind of like the clown face, like their chin and like part of their lower jaw that like it just freaked out. Is that what it is?
No, I like beards, but I just was like, I don't know. I just was like, this seems to be like, this is how we're going to get to know you guys, is the beard guys. I don't know
that they were put on this show because they have beards. Like, beards are their personality. Right? I'm not like it is though. It's like they are the beard team. Yeah. They were just probably they can't wait for the hashtag bearded brothers, like BB. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like they want that. So I think they're probably being encouraged to talk up the beards. You know?
Yeah.
But I didn't notice specifically, but that's really funny that stood out for you. Okay, so at this point, though, the bottom teams are Will and James and Alana and Leo and the sisters and Jerry and Frank and Kelly and Levon. And I'm like, uh-oh, like the writing's on the wall here. And I was thinking that it was going to be for Jerry and Frank, because we saw in the beginning, I was like, oh boy, we did see that already, that like they were focusing on their story and then they didn't focus on their story at all. And then they're in the back of the pack here. I'm like, oh, and they're not reading the clue or getting what's going on. And so Alana hears somebody or overhears someone that figures it out and then goes and tells Caitlin and Haley, the sisters, and Caitlin. And I thought it was really, I mean, I know she was saying that like she likes them and they want to run the race with them. But like, don't tell people, because that's going to help more people in the back. And how do I say this nicely? But Reddit and Twitter, they're having problems with Alana's choice for telling the only white team that was still running in that backpack that they didn't tell the Olympic runners. They didn't tell Gary and Jerry and Frank. And so they were just like, oh, of course they didn't want one of the black teams to be able to win. They told the only white team and help them out. And so a lot of people are saying that it might not have been overtly a racist choice, but it might have been some subconscious conditioning of not necessarily want to play with people that look differently than they do. And so that's kind of a bit of the controversy that's going on about Alana. And I don't know if Leo is part of that conversation, but with her telling the 2 girls about the clue. What do you think?
Right. Wow, this is completely new to me. I had not heard that. I mean, it does suck. I mean, this is reality TV 2020. We know, like, you have to be aware of these things. And actually, I would say for the last few years, that's something that we know you have to be aware of. But also, yeah, I feel like she shouldn't have told any of the teams. I mean, that was a big mistake. Not like you weren't up at the front of the pack where it's bonding. This is now like you tell them and they tell everybody else, or they overhear it. Now you're all in last, like, and it's a cab ride, like, you know, that's not something I want to rely on, is a cab ride to the end. I don't know. I mean, we haven't got to know them very well to know why they picked that way yet. Like, I mean, we don't know if
they liked them and they wanted to
work with them. Yeah. It's tough to comment on that because we don't know them. Like, there hasn't been a lot of focus on them, so we don't really know what type of people they are and what they're. That's the one thing with the race. You don't get to see those because it doesn't really come up a lot, like where people have to talk about their opinions and beliefs. So you don't know how they feel about certain things, but.
And so that's why, you know, the Twitter and Reddit are kind of coming for them. It's kind of like, oh, well, it's like you had one opportunity to help it. Like, you decide to help the only team that wasn't Black, basically. And so that's what it looks like when you just look at the facts on the screen. It's like you should have chosen nobody instead of choosing somebody that made it look a certain way. And I know she was probably not thinking about it. Maybe it is because she just really likes them, but it's also like, oh, it's interesting. The team that you chose to really like is just not a team that was of color. And so that's all part of those implicit biases that are completely unaware and subconscious. And so I thought it was interesting. I hope she doesn't get any hate or anything like that for it, because I don't think that was being intentionally malicious there. But I think it was very glaringly obvious of, you know, social conditioning that she's not aware of like how she chooses her friends and the people that she gravitates towards as wanting to work with and wanting to do well in the race. Because basically she's saying, like, I don't care of the 4 Black people that are still on this thing. I want to make sure that the 2 blonde girls make it to the end and move forward, regardless of the level of friendship that they have. And that's kind of what it looks like. And so I understand why people might be like, I didn't think about it when I watched it. I thought it was just a dumb move in general. But when I hear people making those comments, I'm like, yeah, I understand that could be something that was coming into play here. I didn't off the bat think about it, but I respect people maybe being offended by there being a lack of inclusivity in them telling some information.
Yeah, I completely respect it, and it would have been a lot nicer to see it go the other way. But unfortunately, the one thing that I do wonder, me and you, I think we mentioned this last episode with Kelly and Levon. We were wondering how they are with the other teams. Like, are they social? Because they seem kind of quiet, and so do Alana and Leo. So I'm wondering, maybe for those 2 teams, there isn't as much communication that has taken place between these 2 teams. I don't know. I would think, though, that Jerry and Frank are quite social when it's like downtime and like in the mine and all that. I would think that they're talking to people, at least, like, I don't, that's the vibe I get. So,
but Jerry might be a little bit old and maybe a little bit stuck in his ways, so he might not be that. But
Frank would,
But Frank, I think Frank would get along with some people, maybe like the volleyball brothers. But yeah, I mean, I think that also that played into it is the fact that the Levon and Kelly were Olympic athletes that also happened to be Black. And so I think there was also a worry of them being very strong and a fast team that happened to also be Black. That was also going into play here, because I think it was the sisters that said, like, oh my God, I'm going to be having I don't want to have a foot race against an Olympic running team. And so I think there's implicit biases. I think that does play into that. I do think that, Alana likes the sisters better than she had gotten to know the other 4 teams. The why, we don't know. I think also the fact that Kelly and Levon were Olympic athletes did fall into play. That it's kind of like a happy accident, well, at the same time, they're also really strong, so we can get them out without feeling badly.
Yeah.
Anyways, don't come
I
to me
did,
having an opinion.
yeah. I thought though that they, besides the taxi driver not knowing where to go and not having like a charger for his phone, I thought that they did really well. Like they seem to have caught up from that problem.
Moment, I would have pulled over though. Would you have pulled over when the taxi driver didn't have a phone, like a charger, and was seemingly going the wrong direction? Like I don't think I just would sit there and be annoyed. I think I would have to like get out, find somebody else, and like cut my losses.
Yeah, and they seemed when they showed it, I think that it showed them being like in the city, like at that point. So they probably would have been able to find a taxi, or at least get someone to get them a taxi. So that's a smart call. I probably agree with you there. That
if he doesn't, his phone dies, like you're screwed. So you might as well get out. Especially if it doesn't look like you're close to where you're going, and he doesn't seem to have a clue or the clue to where they're going.
Yeah. But in spite of that, I thought that that they really seemed to be like, if they had like 10 more minutes, or they had figured the horn out just at the exact same time as everybody else, they probably would have. Well, they would have sprinted past them at the pit stop.
Well,
like they were really close.
Didn't tell Caitlin and her sister about it. I think that they would have been able to overtake them.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Jerry and Frank did tell the girls after they figured it out, right? Like, I mean, so in some ways, Jerry and Frank also screwed up because, like, at that point, it was 2 teams that were left. And I think they told the other team, that's nice, but that's not great racing. Like, I mean,
well, I
that's
think
not
so,
what you should be.
If we're looking at the optics, though, like, and, wanting some camaraderie with people that culturally look the same.
Definitely.
I can understand them wanting to keep the other black team within the race.
Yeah.
I can understand them wanting to have that be there too.
Or even there might have been well, they didn't tell us about it, so let's tell them about it, and maybe both of our teams can beat that team to the mat.
Exactly. I think that they were trying to show, like, not be so cutthroat with somebody of their similar background. So I'm not mad at them for telling them, because I would have hated if they were just there last and like everybody's gone, and I don't think I could have handled seeing them break down in that way and then be last. Like I think that I'm happy that it went the way that it did. I didn't want to but it ended up being basically a foot race. So the sisters, Jerry and Frank and Levon and Kelly, where it seemed like they were leaving at about the same time, but they could have been like an hour apart. Like I have no idea what the actual time difference between them is. But the sisters got there first. Then it was the father-son team, and unfortunately, Levon and Kelly were the ones eliminated from the race. And it wasn't really a surprise for me. What about you?
After the first episode, I would say it's a surprise. It wasn't a surprise. The second episode, I found myself rooting for them more. But I can't say it was a huge surprise, just because I think that they were just too far behind.
Yeah, and they don't seem to have like the innate like understanding of like how to play the race. Like it doesn't seem like they're strategic, or that they watch every episode and every season and like they kind of understand the flow of it. So it's kind of like they were just like, oh, they're Olympic athletes that are friends for 20 years. Let's put them in the race. And it just doesn't seem like they were able to get their race legs quickly enough. And their skills didn't seem to translate for the types of tasks that had to be doing these first 2 episodes. So I definitely felt that, especially after last episode, that they weren't going to do very well. I didn't think that they had the interesting, weird, like abilities to be able to do well in this race. So I was disappointed because they're from my team. Especially because I think I was going back and forth between them and Gary and D'Angelo. I think it was at the same time, like the same for me. And I was hoping that they would have been better, unfortunately.
Wow. They were a good team, though.
I liked them. I wanted them to have more time to do better, but they just didn't have it. They just didn't have the amazing race drive.
Yeah. But their memory will always be that they outran those goats in that first line. That's going to be their thing. So,
and actually, what they also says that they've hugged more time on this race than they have hugged in 20 years. So it's nice to hear that at least their relationship has maybe deepened, so they have like more of a special connection. So I am pleased about that.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! That's all I wrote down for this episode. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? And I guess our new survey.
Yeah.
Come up with hard as F like quiz for you. You're gonna stump you.
Oh, come on. No.
Yes. I will. Next week.
Well, let's go. Here's what the survey will be, and we're going to ask all of our listeners. We'll put up the link, and we'll ask everybody to comment and fill it out. So our first question, we'll ask you to answer right now for us, Chantele. So, are you happy to see the yield is back in the game?
I don't think I care. Well, because it's not that impactful, and I don't think that I would use it unless I was one of the bottom, like back two teams. So, or like the second group of like flights. And so I don't think for me, I would want that to be part of my race, just because, I know that the producers want to have drama in there. I know that they want to have like some sort of race friction between the different teams. I get that that's why they introduce these things to kind of snake them, and it's part of the game, so I get it. I just don't know if I want to start any bad blood with any teams. I would personally want to run a clean race, and so I don't care that much about these things that hurt another team, because somebody could use that to hurt my team, and I would hope that I wouldn't want to start people targeting me for other things that might come down the road. So I don't really care about it, because if I was racing, I'd probably be in the front of the pack, just saying. And so I'd only probably use it if I was at the back and it was going to save me that round, and the person that I used it on was going to go home.
All right, so you're not yielding anybody for a trip to Switzerland?
Just yield it, like for the trip? No.
Okay.
No. Would you?
Well, see, me and you are so different some ways. Like, my mentality in the race is all tools that are given to you are allowed to be used. And I feel like if you're given this, I don't think it's going to necessarily make too much of a difference, but I think that there's certain times that it could. And if you can knock out a team that like you're worried about with it, I think you should use it. Like, I mean, if a team's having a bad day and they're really strong in 20 minutes and it's the last task before the pit stop, put it on them and let's just play. But, there's also the U-turns that come up as well in the game. But I would play my U-turns too, so who knows?
I mean, I would consider the U-turns more, because it's more likely that I would want the person that I use it on to not be in the game anymore. So just because I wouldn't want that action to come back to haunt me. I just don't know if the style of race that I want to run would be running away from people like wanting to target me. I don't know if that's what I'd prefer. I think I'd want to just be in the front and people want to work with me because like they think I'm nice and I'm fun and maybe helpful at times. I just don't know if I would want to be the backstabbing team. Like, oh, don't just make sure they're not in front of you because they're going to U-turn you. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's
kill them with kindness. That's what you want to do. All right.
Social game.
All right. Now this is kind of a funny question based on what the tasks were. So for this leg, which task was the hardest? Was it finding the yield hourglass in the salt mines, the climbing the stairs and delivering the item to the square, the circus roadblock, or the attention to detail truck challenge?
I think the attention to detail truck challenge was the most challenging. I think because all the teams started piling up and then people were getting confused and didn't know what was like, why people were getting it and why people weren't getting it. There seemed to be a lot of anxiety and like frantic energy at that particular task. And so people weren't just able to take it at their own pace. Really, there was like everybody's energy was amping it up. Like, pit stop, like, you know, it's just like so frantic that I think that was the most challenging part, is to being able to like focus on your task, focus on your team. Everybody else is not involved in this. Let's get this done and move forward. I found that was the most difficult to get that task done effectively. So I'd say that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Though the challenge of having all those clowns around me would be challenging.
I'm doing that task.
I think the most challenging task, I think, was the truck. Which after the last two legs, which Amazing Race team do you think right now is the strongest in the race? Would you give it to the two first places for Hung and Chi, or is there another team that you think is the strongest in the race?
Well, let me just go through the top three. I think I'm going to give it to Hung and Chi, because I like that even though I thought that they were going to be a team that got frantic, like that energy that allows you to make mistakes. I thought that they would have that when things kind of went out of order, and they don't. They seem to be still quite level-headed and pretty meticulous, or methodical. And so I think that they're the most consistent. Their little mishaps are not game like crushing. Like, it's like, oh no, we didn't read this properly. Okay, let's go back and do this. Like, yes, they didn't read the clue, but like when they fixed it quickly, and you know, I think that they fixed their mistakes well, better than the other team so far. I think close second would be Riley and Madison, but with them losing their taxi driver today, I think that maybe be like, okay, they're not as good as I thought that they were. And so that's why they didn't take the first spot for me. But I still think that they're going to win.
Riley and Madison right now, to me, I feel are the strongest team. I feel like the cab was a misfortunate situation for them, but I feel if that didn't happen, they would have checked in quite early in the leg. So which team do you think will be U-turn next leg? Or will there be a team that will be U-turn? The first U-turn's coming.
It's going to be used by somebody in the back of the pack. So, man, what if Alana does it to like Jerry and Frank or something? The people would come for her. I feel as though the only person that talked about potentially using the yield were the sisters, Caitlin and Haley. And so I feel as though that they're kind of in the back of the pack a little bit. It doesn't seem like they're going to ever be racing in the front. And so I wouldn't be surprised if them or Alana and Leo used it on who's ever behind them, which may be actually Jerry and Frank. And so I wouldn't be surprised if either of those two teams used it on them.
Watch out, Reddit. Look out, Reddit. It's going to get crazy.
Don't you?
Okay. If you had to U-turn a team yourself, which team would you U-turn in the next leg? So if you had to in the next leg.
I had to U-turn. And which team am I in the race?
Well, you're Chantele and Phil. We're there. There's 10 teams instead of 9, and we have to yield
right now.
We're in first. We're totally up at the front. We're doing great, but they say no. You have to U-turn somebody.
I would probably U-turn Hung and Chi, because I think that they would be the less likely to be vindictive and try to come back for us. I think that they would take it more in stride than the competitive brothers would. Like any of the competitive teams, like the footballers or like the basketball, like they're competitive and they would probably want to strike back. And so I would definitely not use it on any of those teams. And Hung and Chi are probably the strongest ones there. So I'd probably do it with them because I think it would have the least repercussions.
Nice. All right. Well, we want to hear from everybody else. So make sure we'll put the link in everything and you fill it out and let us know what your answers are. And I'm looking forward to the next episode. Looking forward to the U-turn.
Talked a long time today. Yes.
Woohoo!
No, I love it. I'm going to think of a nice little quiz for you. I'm going to stump you. I'm going to stump this Phil.
No.
Let's see if you can get a perfect score. Yeah, right. If you guys have any questions, or if you have any, quizzes or questions that you want to share with me that I could share with Phil to stump him, that would be great. Obviously, if you could fill out this survey, because we do like hearing what your opinions are, and it gives us like some talking points of like how people are perceiving this season. We love it. We love you guys in the chat because that also makes it fun as well. So thank you for participating. Leave some comments. We love them. We read them all. We'll respond to all of them. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe right down over there. Subscribe, please. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. That is what our next big goal is. Like this video if you like it. Even if you don't like it, we love the analytics for the algorithm of YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And ring that bell so every time we go live, you will be notified. And next time live will be tomorrow for The Masked Singer with Jonathan Oliveira. So join us for that and chat with us in the chat. We'll be doing a live reveal on tomorrow because we watched the up into Take It Off. So we'll do that part live with you guys. So join us, please. So Phil, do you have anything that you want to share that people need to follow you at, or social media stuff or events?
Well, right now I'm still just on Instagram, so p.gourlay, but I am promising I will make a Twitter account. I'm going to start from the bottom and move all the way up with Reality Realness. So maybe it will be a Reality Realness Twitter. We'll see.
Okay. Well, it was super great chatting with you. I had a super duper fun time. I can't wait till next week, and I can't wait to see the episode next week to see like whose team is going to fall in the back. I'm kind of worried about my team right now, but I think I do have the winners, but I'm still worried. But it's been great. Love talking with you. Bye, Phil.
Bye.